Right guys, today I wanted to make a video about what I think is Liverpool's best front three if they have to play one massive game together. And for me there's three options. I think Mo Salah on the right wing has got to be, he starts in any of Liverpool's best team. And out of the other three players who are really competing for a starting position in the Liverpool team, I mean, no disrespect to Divock Origi or Takumi Minamino, but they're squad players, aren't they? Really. So out of Diogo Jota, Sadio Mane, and Roberto Firmino, who I think gets into the starting 11. So there's three different options really. You can go Salah on the right, Firmino down the middle, Mane on the left. The classic, the one that's been working for the past 4 years now. And I think that works really well still, even to this day. In the Man City game about a month ago now, maybe 6 weeks, Diogo Jota started that game, but had no real impact in it. When Jota was on the pitch in that game, Man City just dominated because there was no link for Liverpool between midfield and attack. And as soon as Roberto Firmino came on, and that's when things started working again for Liverpool. And that's Liverpool scored 2 goals from within about 20 minutes of Firmino being on the pitch. So yeah, that shows what Firmino brings to the team. He links up the midfield and the attack a lot better than Diogo Jota does. So it is still a very good option for Liverpool, the original front three. And especially in the big games, that seems to work a lot when Liverpool is struggling to break down the opposition's defence, because Firmino sort of can pull the centre back out of position, which allows the space for Salah and Mane to make the diagonal runs inside. And the new option, or the one that's been used sometimes over the past year since Diogo Jota joined the club, is basically the one I've just mentioned, with Salah on the right, Mane on the left, Diogo Jota down the middle. And for me, that works in some games, like in the Atletico Madrid game, that worked really well. Purely because Atletico Madrid aren't a team who are going to come out and press you, are going to try and have a lot of possession. And sometimes when the defence is just sat back in a low block, Roberto Firmino's sort of really struggling because he hasn't got the space that he needs to, he hasn't got the space he needs, and that there isn't enough space for him to create if he does pull a player out of position, because the defence will have so many players back. Whereas Jota, with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson or Costas Tsimikas in full-back positions, I wouldn't say his aerial presence is more than Firmino's, but because they are both quite good in the air for strikers who are both under 6 foot tall. Jota tends to get into those positions a lot more than Firmino does, because Firmino does play deeper. Jota is more of a poacher rather than Firmino. Firmino is pretty much the exact opposite of a poacher. Although in that game against Watford, I guess he scored a hat-trick from about a combined total of 6 yards for all of the goals. So Jota can work more if there's being a lot of crosses put in from deep, and against Atletico Madrid that worked really well because Atletico Madrid like to sit back. And there is another option, but hasn't been used a lot recently. I just need to blow my nose quickly. That's better. The third option has only been used like a handful of times, and I think two of the times were actually both against Man United, and it worked really well for Liverpool in both games against Manchester United at Old Trafford. The first one I can think of is back in May when Liverpool beats Man United 4-2 at Old Trafford, and that was Salah on the right, Firmino down the middle, and Jota on the left. And the reason I think this really works well was because I think Sadio Mane's a very good player, but sometimes his decision making isn't quite as good as someone like Diogo Jota. Jota has more of a better instinct of like knowing where to be at the right time rather than Mane. I feel like Jota's positioning can be a lot better, and also for Firmino, you've got him like pulling defenders out and making space for Jota. So I think potentially the way forward for Liverpool might actually be a front three of Salah, Firmino, and Jota, purely because I think in Jota, I mean, obviously Mane has his pros over Jota, but what I'm trying to say is I think there's basically two ways for Liverpool. I think the way to play against teams like Burnley, who are going to sit back and like just try and play for the draw, take whatever they can, that is probably the game where you play Jota down the middle and Mane and Salah on the wings. But I think in the big games, Firmino's vital because there's a lot more space, and when we counter-attack, Firmino is probably our most important player in the counter-attacks, as he is the link between midfield and attack. And what I'm wondering though is, in those big games, does it suit Jota more than Mane because of how Jota I think Jota's now become better at exploiting the spaces that Firmino creates with his movement. So I do want to see a front three of Salah, Jota, and Salah, Firmino, and Jota more often for Liverpool in the big games. It's what I'm trying to say, and I think that is the way forward in the big games. Obviously, in smaller games, you sort of go off form a little bit more, but in the big games, you need to stick to what you think's best. And for me, I think the way forward is Salah, Firmino, and Jota. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.